I'm showing you guys Fox News so you know the real truth, okay? That the real Americans are discussing. Time for some real facts about why James Comey is actually totally indictable, and it was the best indictment that has ever come down. The biggest criminal of all time. What is the crime? Hurting Trump's feelings by not following along with whatever agenda item he had at that moment. Do you understand how big of a crime that is? Perhaps the biggest crime of all time.
2016 campaign.
Also, it's official. James Comey has been indicted, ladies and gentlemen. Republican, lifelong Republican, Jim Comey, the former director of the FBI, has now been officially indicted. Let's take a look.
The president leans in for a hug. He thought he was his guy. Well, that turned out not to be the case. The president blames James Comey for the Russia investigation. He's never gotten over that. But this is the biggest example yet, and one of the most recent ones, probably not the one that President Trump campaigned on. And this is something that is really going to play out in an extraordinary way. The question is, though, this new U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, she's been a prosecutor now, I think, for like 4 days.
Yeah.
So how does this all unfold? We do not know. But this could resurrect James.
It's so
Comey.
funny because they literally were like, we ride at dawn for Jim Comey. They literally were like, you have to do something. The former Virginia attorney was not able to find enough sufficient evidence for Letitia James to be prosecuted and indicted. So Trump fired him, put a new person in charge, told Pam Bondi to get with it and start punishing his enemies. And immediately, 4 days in, the federal prosecutor's like, all right, we got to indict the former director of the FBI, Jim Comey. Yeah. It looks like the federal prosecutor's own determination was that there was no probable cause to charge him. Prosecutor's memo to the new U.S. attorney found no probable cause to charge Jim Comey. Breaking at the top, however, former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted. Ladies and gentlemen, never thought I would see the day where I would say that Jim Comey is unjustifiably being prosecuted by the madmen in this administration, but here we are. I hate James Comey, and I can't believe that I'm saying this, but what an unacceptable thing that this administration is doing.
Who then worked on the Trump defense during the classified documents case. She was in the White House working on trying to figure out what was too woke for the Smithsonian, and then all of a sudden finds herself in this job. What happens now?
So the next step will be an in-court appearance by Jim Comey. It will be an arraignment, probably in front of the assigned district court judge. It's a fairly routine procedure. They will make sure that he has counsel. I'm sure he will have counsel of his own. He'll be advised of the charges. He'll enter a plea, presumably of not guilty. They'll set bail. He'll be released. There probably will be little or no bail. But Jake, I have to remark on this. I mean, the notion of Jim Comey, a guy who was the deputy U.S. Attorney General, the number 2 person in the Justice Department. He was the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York.
One of the funniest things about this process, by the way, is that if there is a singular figure that is perhaps most responsible in tilting the scales in Trump's direction in the 2016 election, it is James Comey, a lifelong Republican who was the FBI director under Barack Hussein No Bummer. That James Comey and his second revelation for the second Hillary Clinton investigation literally might have single-handedly tilted the scales in Trump's direction in key states. Okay? No one is like singularly responsible, but if there is one person you could point to, it's James Comey. Days before the election.
In the Trump administration is the open and brazen nature by which the president and his aides and appointees are calling for revenge against the president's perceived political enemies. We saw Brendan Carr, the FCC chairman, calling on local affiliates, ABC affiliates, to tell Disney, ABC they were no longer going to air Jimmy Kimmel Live because they don't like the speaker, they don't like the speech. Then, like within days, President Trump openly firing a U.S. attorney who didn't bring these charges, bringing somebody in who has no prosecutorial experience, and openly telling his attorney general, I want these 3 political enemies indicted. I'm paraphrasing, but they are all guilty as hell is not a paraphrase. He did say that.
So first of all, I promise you Justice Department prosecutors will hate and regret the fact that Donald Trump sent out those true socials, because those statements by the president will absolutely be used by Jim Comey's defense team to argue for dismissal on the basis of selective prosecution. That is a defense. It is recognized. It's really hard to prove because you have to prove that you were singled out for political purposes. People don't usually put their intentions in writing the way that Donald Trump has done. So that will be a motion.
My mom got my mom to watch some of your stuff, and she really liked it. Then she saw your Rapture post about Barbara with her out, and she stopped watching. What? Is she afraid of the truth? That the Rapture is actually imminent? And Barbara's and the Debras are going to have their Debrasies out when they're flying into the air getting harponzo beamed? It's true.
James, they're all guilty as hell. Now, we don't know if charges for Schiff and Letitia James are coming. But sources told CNN today the charges could be coming soon for another Trump opponent, former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Anyway, go back to what your second point you were about to make. I just want to remind folks of this uncharted waters in which we find ourselves.
Well, that's exactly where I was going, Jake. I mean, I think it's worth reflecting. The Justice Department and the Trump administration have crossed a line here. They have done something that we've never seen before, which is an explicit order from a president, and you just showed the true social, to his attorney general, to his Justice Department, to go after, to criminally charge these people who I consider to be my political enemies. And it's not just words. As you said, it was accompanied by action, the dismissal of Eric Siebert, a conservative career prosecutor who Donald Trump put in that place in the first place back in early 2025, and the replacement of him with Lindsey Halligan, unqualified political loyalist. So this is a dark moment for DOJ. Look, we have to wait and see how this indictment looks before we pass judgment on it, but there are a lot of indicators here that raise real cause for concern.
All right, Ellie Honig, Jeff Zeleny, Caitlin Polance, thanks to all of you. Much more on the breaking news next with Aaron Burnett out front, which starts right now. I'll see you tomorrow.
This is CNN Breaking.
How does anyone feel comfortable working for Trump? One mistake and you're next Comey? Yeah, that's the point. That's the reason why they're doing this, so that if you're not loyal, even though it's very unlikely that you will ever be disloyal, then you have something to look forward to, which is prison.
Judiciary Committee, Laura, and that date is very specific because this coming Tuesday is 5 years to the day after that testimony, and a statute of limitations for lying to Congress or lying to a federal official is exactly 5 years. So they got this in right under the deadline as we wait to look at this paperwork when it's out, and it could be out very soon. Laura.
David, thank you very much. Here to discuss,
Sure.
James Fitzgerald, former FBI criminal profiler, James Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent. Gentlemen, we're waiting to get the terms of this indictment specifically, but many of us expected this was coming. Perjury is not easy to prove. We also have information tonight that line prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia had written a declination memo, in other words, to the U.S. attorney stating they could not find probable cause to indict Comey. Nevertheless, the U.S. attorney, apparently with her own factual undertaking, decided to go ahead with this indictment, as we just heard, right within the 5-year statute of limitations on these particular statements made in this testimony. James, let's start with you. You've been involved in a lot of these cases. What do you see so far?
Well, Laura, I've never been involved in the indictment.
I'm showing you guys Fox News so you know the real truth, okay? That the real Americans are discussing. Time for some real facts about why James Comey is actually totally indictable, and it was the best indictment that has ever come down. The biggest criminal of all time. What is the crime? Hurting Trump's feelings by not following along with whatever agenda item he had at that moment. Do you understand how big of a crime that is? Perhaps the biggest crime of all time.
2016 campaign with the whole declination of Hillary Clinton's actions with her computer, and the way he just addressed the public and others, you could tell there was this manipulation going on his part. He really knows how to work the media, as someone said earlier, and knows what to do and get people
Clinton,
for him.
Though. That was good for Trump.
Whether they're going to be subpoenaed and they're going to be brought before,
a
jury, and they have to testify whether they're granted some kind of immunity.
They literally hang you for shit you did for the boss. Okay.
Well,
they don't give a.
Comey may have gotten himself into real hot
even
water
the
watch.
good things that you did for Trump,
Chairman
they
Grassley
use
asked
as a
you
bad
point-blank,
thing.
quote, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation? You responded under oath, quote, never. He then asked you, quote, have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration? You responded again under oath, no. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal. Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave. I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
James Gagliano, what do you make of this? The posture of this case, again, the indictment itself has not been released. This narrative that the Democrats are clinging to, that this is the weaponization, rich coming from them, by the way, this is the weaponization, Trump's weaponization of the Justice Department against his political enemy. How do you see it?
Well, Laura, I don't think anybody's doing cartwheels in the FBI or in the retired FBI ranks. Obviously, this is a stain. Now, look, the FBI's been around for 117 years. James Comey was FBI director for 3 years and 247 days. He was fired May 9th, 2017 for cause. He serves at the pleasure of the president. And I'm sorry, many of the things that James Comey did were wrong. There are 4 IG reports. And Laura, I'm wonky enough to have read every word of those 4 reports, and they were scathing. Maybe he didn't get indicted out of that, but as you pointed out, no one's above the law. And Laura, I'll leave you with this. There's a number of people that look at James Comey as...
Wait, why is he indicted? I still don't know. What is it? Just like vibes? What is the reason? Do we know why he got indicted?
Latest now on President Trump's retribution.
After Trump demanded his DOJ move now to prosecute enemies. What is it? The charges... Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted on 2 to 3 counts sought by prosecutors, 1 count for making false statements and 1 count of obstruction of justice. Oh my God. That's so bad, dude. They got nothing on the boy. They got nothing on him. That's like when a cop comes up to you and annoys you and then says like, I'm going to arrest you for obstruction of justice. Like that's it. That's it. That's vibes, dude. That is the most vibes-based indictment of all time. They go, stop resisting. You're like, I'm not resisting. And then they're like, you're getting charged with obstruction of justice. Oh, my Lord, how silly this is. God, what a living. Ay, ay, ay.
Justice must be done, lest no one have faith in the FBI going forward. If nothing comes of everything that we know happens.
Yeah.
Then what?
This is why we won't have faith in the FBI, not because Kash Patel is the current director. And he's tweeting every investigation before they make any fucking serious attempts at an arrest.
The Women's March in January of that year, right after Trump was inaugurated, or right around that time. I'll never forget Mrs. Comey and 2 of her daughters were interviewed by chance by CNN, directly identifying themselves who they were. Now, they have every right to do that, First Amendment, all that. But you really think the wife and daughters of the FBI would stay away from making controversial statements about the upcoming Trump administration? But we knew that was just one adjacent part of what their husband/father was doing. It was also crossfire hurricane going on inside the FBI, and we all know where that went, winding up with him possibly committing perjury in front of Congress.
Now, this was a long, winding setup of a duly elected president of the United States, and it was a travesty. And justice must be done. Panel, thank you very much. I want to bring in Brett Tolman, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Utah. Brett, we're just getting all these details now, and frankly, they're scant. We expect this indictment to be released at any moment. Your thoughts on where this case might go, and again, we know the backstory here, that the Democrats are going to claim, oh, well, it's just an indictment. They were never saying that when they indicted Trump, right? But now they're out saying, oh, it's just an indictment. It doesn't mean anything. Well, of course, you're presumed innocent. But nevertheless, former FBI director looks like...
Nevertheless, it's not going to stop us from claiming he's guilty of the epic crime of obstruction of justice and perjury.
The grand jury's role, and we should give confidence to it. And
I thought they would have had something else, like, I don't know, like something that's like pertinent to any of the things that Trump seemingly cares about. You know what I mean? What a silly fucking thing. After I went on Newsom's pod, that's crazy.
Who, as Evan was just laying out, is the one who brought these charges, says the charges as alleged in this case represent a breach of the public trust at an extraordinary level. They are noting, as you heard Evan just reporting, that if convicted, Comey faces up to 5 years in prison. Elena Trina is at the White House. And Elena, this is clearly, it could not be more clear. This is something Trump has said again and again and again that he wants, as recently as this weekend in his post when he talked about bringing charges against several individuals, including Jim Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, and Letitia James. What are you learning about the Comey charges here?
Yeah, look, this is something we know that the president has been wanting, and he hasn't just been urging this. This isn't just, reporting that we have, which we do, which is that he has been pressuring and urging the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to bring these charges against Comey. He said it publicly in that post over the weekend. But one thing that I think is important to make clear in the context around this. We know that behind closed doors, and I know this, Aaron, from my conversations with White House officials, that the president has often lamented that his Justice Department hasn't been bringing charges against senior government officials or really political opponents that he views. He argues behind closed doors to them that, charges were brought against him, indictments were brought against him when he was out of office, and that they deserve to have charges brought against them too. And I will point you to someone. I just caught up with a White House official. They are so far waiting to see what the president says on Truth Social, but they did point me to some of what the president said today when he was in the Oval Office with the Turkish President Erdogan. He essentially said, I can only say that Comey is a bad person. He's a sick person. He did terrible things. This is the mindset of the president. He has long viewed Comey as kind of an enemy of his, really. And this is something he has been wanting now for several months since taking office. And you heard Evan talk a lot about...
Dude, he has the funniest grievances. Like, it's so stupid. It's like going after Jimmy Kimmel, going after like Jim Comey. It's so obvious that his like boomer coded resentments from the last time his brain was able to like create new memories have stuck with him. And now, like a petty tyrant, like a petulant little child, he's just going after these people. And there's nothing, virtually nothing for him to go after these people over. So he just keeps going, do something. And then all the fucking loyal dumbasses that he's surrounded himself with, these fucking sycophants, are like, yes, my lord, we will do your bidding. And then, because there's at least like a crumb of institutional legitimacy left in this goddamn country, it just gets eviscerated. And then there's massive public pushback. And then there's even more resentment. This is the first time there has been a dent in Trump's approval for quite a while. It was because of the fucking Kirk stuff, the Charlie Kirk killing, and then the subsequent ways in which Donald Trump refused to lower the temperature and consistently kept saying, like, radical leftists need to be prosecuted, and then went after Jimmy Kimmel and shit. It took another dent out of his base. And it's not like he has people to lose right now. He already was underwater. And he's not giving anything to his base beyond like these petty culture war grievances that he has. Oh, it's so crazy. He's going to indict the escalator if he remembers it.
Not because Comey's perfect by any means, but what we have here is a clear vindictive prosecution, a clear selective prosecution. We have a president for the first time in history ordering his attorney general to indict his enemies. And the attorney general, instead of being the independent force that she's supposed to be, saying, yes, sir, how fast can I get that done for you? I think if she's concerned about justice for people who have misled the country, reflection on her confirmation
no one is above the law
is probably in order, because she talked about even-handed justice, and this is not that. I think that the case is subject to motions to dismiss for vindictive prosecution and selective prosecution. I think, likewise, it's a very weak case, at least based on what we publicly know.
I'm just lip posting. I don't even give a shit
about this case. Yeah. Because of the Justice Department internal Inspector General's investigation, where he found the person that Comey allegedly authorized to leak the information not credible, and found that Comey was credible. So I think this is a very problematic case for the government to bring, but I think the way in which they brought it is problematic for the entire country. And this is either the end of the rule of law in America, or it's a tipping point against the authoritarian activity that we have seen from this president and his attorney general.
In what way would it be a tipping point in that direction, Ty? I mean, I'm just looking at the situation. If you take a step
Dude, if he indicts Hillary Clinton, it's going to kill me. I will perish. If I have to sit here and defend Hillary Rodham Clinton, I don't know if I can do it. I think I might just give up on political commentary. Like, at least for the week or something. You know what I mean? Because I don't have that dog in me, man. I can't get those words to come out of my mouth, you know? It's tough. It's tough. Like Jimmy Kimmel, first he came for Jimmy Kimmel. I said something, even though I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. Then he came for Jim Comey, and I said something, even though I don't like Jim Comey either. But if he comes for Hillary Rodham Clinton, I don't know if I'll be able to say something. I don't know if I have it in me. It's just, that's too much. That's too much expectation. I'm only one guy. I'm a human being after all. It's quite difficult for me. That's like John Bolton. You know what I mean? He fucking indicts John Bolton. I'm there. Okay. He goes after John Bolton. I'm gonna be like, okay, well, oops. Didn't he already do that actually? Yeah, that's a given. That's your own thing. You know, that's like prosecuting a Republican, because he is. They raided him. That's right. The feds did a sweep, and I took a let them fight approach, and that's fine. You know, you can do that.
That Comey knew about a leak. And Comey had said that he did not know about the leak prior to the leak. He has stuck with this all the way. This has been inspected. But let me just play the exchange with Ted Cruz that may be at the heart of this. But this is the question of what Comey knew about the leak and what he authorized about the leak. Here it is.
On May 3rd, 2017, in this committee, Chairman Grassley asked you point blank, quote, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation? You responded under oath, quote, never. He then asked you, quote, have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration? You responded again under oath, no. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and that you were directly aware of it and that you directly authorized it. Now, what Mr. McCabe is saying and what you testified to this committee cannot both be true. One or the other is false. Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
Ty, that's very much at the heart of this. I want to emphasize he stood by it. And as you say, there was an investigation into that, which did not conclude wrongdoing on the part of the former FBI director, Comey. In that context, when you look at the fact that there was an investigation,
I'm
that
gonna
it
get
reached that
fucking
conclusion,
deported,
and
man.
now we have charges.